Welcome to the Crispy Ear podcast. My name is Ellie Kerr and it is an association with Merseyside Women of the Year. And today my guest is Angela Samata DL. Angela, thank you very much for coming along today.
Still feels really strange hearing those
DL.
letters after my name. It still feels really strange, but yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure, absolutely made up that you could make it. Also, Merseyside Woman of the Year, one of the Womanses, 2015. Can't believe it. 10 years?
Honestly, I was at the amazing awards dinner this year and somebody said to me, are you one of the Merseyside Women of the Year? And I said, I am. And she said, oh, when did you win? And I thought, and it was the first time it had dawned on me, how the hell is it 10 years? It's
mad,
like,
isn't it?
You know, it feels like, I don't know, it in some ways like so much has happened. But then in other ways, it just kind of, when you're back in that room and you're surrounded by hundreds of amazing women and men, I have to say there were lots of men there this year, but I just couldn't believe it had been 10 years, you know.
It's flown.
It really has, and you know, I still don't know what happened to the cheesecake. Do you remember the cheesecake? So, I was named in that. I mean, you remember them in detail, but for me, it was the first time I'd ever been into the awards ceremony, and obviously, I knew I was up for an award, but I'd been given the Woman of Courage that year, which was sponsored by Tommy Tippy and the amazing Jeanette, and. So I thought that was it. I thought I was off duty, you know. I was kind of, and I was really hungry and I couldn't eat before I knew, you know. Anyway, so I won the Woman of Courage and came and accepted the award, which was just tremendous. And the room is just so full of love and, you know, it was just amazing. And then I sat back down and I remember they'd served the cheesecake at that point. So I thought, right, that's it, I'm out, you know, that I can eat now, you know, shoo. And, I remember taking the spoon of cheesecake and then they said, and the Merseyside Woman of the Year is, and I literally then don't know what happened to the cheesecake because the whole thing just stopped and it's like Angela Samata and I was like, what? Like, no, I've already got one, you know, that, and I hadn't realised that
there's a possibility of two.
Honestly, absolutely, the shock of it was just incredible. And I think for me it was the fact that I'd been nominated anyway, and the amazing like Rebecca Gibson, I know that she fessed up later that she'd nominated me, but I think a few other people had very, very kindly put my nomination together. And then I think for me it was kind of like just a validation of knowing that at a time in my life when I'd really put myself out there, really vulnerable time,
you had
to know that members of the public had said, actually, we believe in her and we believe in what she's doing, and then to be in your amazing room and kind of, I don't know, it there's so many layers to it, but I still can't believe it's 10 years.
It's absolutely flown. But I think the fact that you were courage and you were brave enough to, as you say, because the documentary laid everything bare, didn't it?
It did. It was, I mean, the documentary was something that, you know, when I was asked, you know, I mean, you know, lots of people know that I was bereaved by suicide, and it was my partner and the father of my children, who were 3 and 13 at the time, who very unexpectedly ended his life. And so I became a single parent kind of overnight. I was 30, I was a widow at 32, and I think that when we made the documentary about that, I just loved the fact that they allowed me to travel around the country, you know, kind of interviewing other people who'd had this experience. And so it meant that it wasn't just about my experience then, it was about other people's experiences. And so to have that, to kind of put yourself out there in that way was kind of, it took a lot, you know, to decide to do that. You know, putting your private life kind of on BBC One at 9 o'clock is kind of quite a lot. So then to be in the room with you and your amazing awards, and then to have that kind of validated by the people who live around me, you know, was just incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I've mentioned it before, but it really did feel like a validation, like it's okay, you know, you're okay, we've got you, you know, and it really, really felt like that, you know.
'Cause, you know, one of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that you don't get it because you've sponsored it. You don't get it because you've bought it. You don't get it because you're my mate. You get it because you deserve it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole ethos that we've stuck to, is the fact that we find... Well, we don't find them. We open the doors and women come to us. You know, it's about helping those women be seen and heard and found.
Yeah.
And I think the message that you gave to everybody also opened up the conversation around talking about suicide, talking about mental health, and that I'd say probably was quite a big jump off point for a lot of things.
It really was, and that day I remember it. There were lots of women who came to me, you know, in the bathroom. I have to say, I think I was in the bathroom at one point for like about what felt like about 45 hours, but it was gorgeous because, you know, it's like the same as any bathroom that I go in at any awards ceremony or any kind of event now. You know, people will say, I've never told anyone this, but, and then you have the great privilege then of hearing what's happened for people, and it was no different that day. You know, there were many people in that room that have lost people or experienced thoughts of suicide themselves, and were really wanted to share that, and I was very, very kind of privileged, you know, to hear that and kind of witness that and just share that moment. And it I don't know, and that, you know, since in the last 10 years, you know, I suppose, you know, you and I have both done lots of things, haven't we? But I think for me, it was part of my reason why I trained as a therapist, was because I kind of wanted to be able to hold those conversations for people and to kind of, to understand what was happening for people in a kind of, as a therapist.
Because so much has happened, hasn't it? So BAFTA. Let's try and do it in chronological order. I remember being so excited for you. Honestly, I lived vicariously through you going to the BAFTAs, and Louis threw a spanner in the works, didn't he? Because it was
we were in the same. Well, me and Louis threw, and so I was in the best documentary category, and so there was me and Louis threw, and a guy called Adam Curtis, who is. He's one of my fantasy dinner party guests. So the fact that I got to sit next to him at BAFTA at the dinner, which is a whole other story in it. So we could do a whole other podcast on that. So we were all in the same category. Anyway, none of us won. A woman who had made a film about her son who'd actually been radicalised. You know, it was a very serious topic. And she actually won, but it was just the most... No, so Louis didn't win, and so it was gorgeous afterwards, because, you know, to have Louis through, like, the best documentary filmmaker in the, you know, as far as I'm concerned, in the last kind of, I don't know, 20 years or whatever, and that real kind of, you know, confessional, like, narrative that he... I mean, to be fair, when you meet him, you literally would tell him anything. I mean, I don't know what it is about him. You literally would tell him, and, you know, when you sit there and watch and you're thinking... How the hell, like, why are they telling him that? You would totally tell him your deepest, darkest secrets within, like, the first, like, 7 seconds of meeting him. He's just got something about him. But to have someone like him saying, you know, you deserve to win that was, like, a huge kind of, like, well, if you're saying it, okay, maybe. But it was great, and I think even being nominated and even being, you know, there's so many amazing films out there, even to be in that you know, kind of moment is just incredible. So yeah. And
then that led on to other things that obviously around some of the charities that you've worked with, and obviously you know, with the royal family and bits and pieces like that.
I mean, the work with the... So I've worked with the household, and I now currently work with the Royal Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the Prince and Princess of Wales's work. And, you know, that all came from the film, really. You know, the film went out and they saw the film and were very, very interested in thinking about mental health and suicide prevention. And so that kind of is where where that started, really.
Well, you took family from the people that you were working with through SOBS, didn't you, to meet them?
So when I got the phone call, and it's really funny because when you get the phone, I was in my dressing gown having the second coffee in the morning, just trying to wrap my head around everything that was going on. And I got a phone call, and it was a friend of mine said, if you get a phone call from a no number, you need to pick it up. And I was like, okay. And so anyway, 2 minutes later, the phone rang, no number, and it's kind of, hello, is that Miss Samata? And can I call you Angela? Now, the only time anyone says, can I call you by your first name, is either when it's something really, really good or something you're in a lot of trouble. So I was just like, oh my God. But that was the first phone call that I'd had from the household, and they invited me in to have a conversation with the Prince and Princess of Wales. But my first reaction was, can I bring other people with me? And they were like, I'll phone you back. And they said, then they phoned me back, and it was like, how many people would you like to bring in? And I hadn't thought about that. And I was like, 10. And they were like, we'll call you back. And then they did allow me to bring 10 other people who'd all been bereaved by suicide or experienced thoughts of suicide themselves. And we went in, and it was, we went into Kensington Palace, and it was the most phenomenal meeting, because it really was when the Heads Together campaign was starting, and so my involvement has kind of been since then, really. But there's a real kind of belief that the kind of using the platform can hopefully make a difference to people, and for them to know what support's available.
There's a lot more openness now, isn't there, and a lot more talk about mental health and the prevention of suicide, and people talking about it, and not just sort of being embarrassed or thinking that it is okay to say, like they say, you're not okay.
I mean, I think for me it's more than okay, it's absolutely vital. It's the only way that we can have kind of life-changing conversations, is by being open and honest. But I think for me, the most worrying thing for me at the moment is that we're seeing a rise in female suicide, and I'm really worried about that, and I'm very concerned about it. And it's one of the areas of work that I'm kind of looking at the moment.
That's very concerning.
I don't know what's going on. I need to kind of get under the skin of kind of what's going on there for our women, and
Well, I think there's a lot of pressures on women anyway, but I think sometimes also social media, the cost of living crisis. Women will always put other people before themselves. So if you've got children, they're going to come first. If you've got elderly parents, they come first. Women are never, ever, ever, until you get to a certain age, you're never, ever top of your own list. Never. So, and then you do get to a certain age and you think, oh, actually I can. But then you have to sort of give yourself permission.
And I wonder whether that's something that is incredible about the work that you do, because you elevate women's experiences. You don't shy away from the reasons why any of us are there. I never thought that, I would never ever wish what happened to us on my worst enemy, However, what it did do, when I reflect on it now, because it's 22 years since I was bereaved, what was amazing was, how many other people, specifically women, kind of just came around me and the kids, and kind of very, very kind of light touch in some cases, just were there, and just there in the background, I don't know, and then just never left. Like, when you look around and it's 4:00 in the morning, you're like, oh my God, But actually they were there, and in a really, really wonderful, subtle way. I mean, sometimes not so subtle in the case of my mum and my sister, but, they were definitely there.
But they're going to be...
But you know what I mean? And that kind of felt like being in the room when I was given the award kind of felt like the same. Like, none of us were shying away from our experiences. There were lots of very, very difficult experiences and reasons why women were in that room and up for awards, because they'd created kind of change out of their experiences,
That's what surprises me every year. And every year I do say I'm not going to do it. And every year you get the most amazing stories, you get the most amazing feedback on the differences it makes. This whole podcast series for me has been it's been so gorgeous because I've got to find out more. And I think for me, it's been actually, it's again, I suppose for me, it's been validation because it's sort of like, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I don't want to do it. Oh my God, it's such hard work.
Yeah.
And then you hear the stories, especially sitting here, of like the difference it's made, but also then the wider impact. It's not just about winning Watty, it's about then what it's gone out and enabled women to do, which has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's become part of my biography now. I mean, whenever I'm introduced, whenever I'm doing anything, whether it's filming or on stage or, you know, or interviewing other people, it's always part of my biography now, although I have to be careful because sometimes it slips into, I'm introduced as Miss Merseyside, which is like really tricky because it's kind of like, I don't know whether they think it's like 1975 and I'm kind of going to stroll on the stage in a pair of stilettos and a bikini and a sash. But so sometimes I have to kind of like, well, very gently correct it. But it's part of my biography now, and
it's on
I'm
your
very
biography.
proud of it.
It's on your biography as and your DL.
Yeah, well, you know.
And now, is it Deputy Lieutenant or
Lieutenant? I was corrected very early on. So Lieutenant is American, and Lieutenant. Yeah, if I've got that wrong, please write in the comments.
No, let's just say DL.
But yeah, DL's definitely safe. Yeah.
And what's that been like?
It's been incredible. I mean, I didn't know my hat was in the ring. I didn't know my name was being kicked around, and so I was very surprised when I was invited to go to a lunch, and they kind of check you out, and they know so much about you already. It's like, did I tell you that, or do you know that? And I do believe that like being Merseyside Woman of the Year kind of definitely counted in that because it was just such a, you know, it's just part of my your credibility, I suppose, really. And so I became a DL, and again will have been really welcomed into the whole kind of DL family, really, because there's the Lord Lieutenant and then there's Deputy Lieutenants that sit underneath. But I love it, and I think the main reason why I said it's a voluntary role, but the main reason why I said was because the Lord Lieutenant Mark Blundell told me that as part of my role, I get to give people their citizenship.
Oh, wow.
So when they become a UK citizen, I get to be part of their ceremonies of welcome. And I think, as the daughter of an immigrant, I'm not really sure there's anything better than that, you know. And so I'm just kind of next year I'll start to kind of train and learn kind of the ropes and how to do that. But it feels, again, it just feels really great to be able to represent Merseyside, and because it goes across Liverpool and the Wirral. So, so yeah.
We have like a framework that we use, which is like network, information, money, and self-belief.
Okay.
So which one of those four? It can be all four, but which, if you want to choose one or two, which one? Which of those would resonate with you?
I think it's all of them, but I think the self-belief definitely has definitely changed over the years, because I think that I've kind of managed to navigate dual careers. So I do the work in suicide prevention and mental health, and, you know, had the great privilege of being involved when James's Place came to Liverpool, you know, the first one, and now, you know, there's several James's Places around the country. But then I also kind of have a career in the art world as well. So and I've kind of really it's been the self-belief that's allowed me to kind of go freelance and kind of believe that I can work across both kind of sectors, really. And the sectors kind of keep crossing over now, which in my experience they never used to. You know, I was working at the Walker Art Gallery, running the John Moores Painting Prize, and I was separately doing the suicide prevention work. But actually now, you know, things are kind of crossing over all the time, and so now I'm kind of obviously working with the Royal Foundation, but also kind of chairing one of the advisory groups at Tate, while Tate Liverpool is closed, and that's just really incredible work, being able to do that.
From all those networks and stuff, what's been one of the biggest surprises from sort of like, you know...
If I'm brutally honest, and you want me to be really honest, I know you want me to honest, you're always so honest. I think one of the things that really surprised me was that I still very truly believe in the sisterhood. I really believe that there are women who have made an enormous difference to my life and career. However, I think sometimes we expect other women to treat us brilliantly, and actually I think the biggest surprise for me is when that doesn't happen, because I just presume it's kind of everyone's kind of supporting each other, and we're celebrating each other, when actually, you know, when you find out sometimes years later that it was a woman who didn't give you what you needed, or it was a woman who made the decision not to let you do that. I kind of still find that really difficult.
No, I agree.
So I think that continues to be my biggest surprise, really. You know, when you look back at your career and you're thinking, why didn't that happen? And then you realise that actually it was because somebody sabotaged it, or you know, somebody kind of...
For me, it's the women that pretend that they want to put the ladder down. I think they're worse than the ones that have pulled it up, because you know they're not going to let it back down. But the ones who pretend they've let it down, but then what they've done is they've broken the bottom rung. So, or the bottom couple of rungs. So there's no way you are ever going to be able to progress, or because they're going to make it really difficult for you. You've had a couple of those.
But I do wonder
instances.
what happens in those moments, though, to make other women feel as if they've got to do that. You know, that there's because as far as I'm concerned, there's room for everyone. You know, it's kind of. But I just wonder about, you know, what's happened in their careers or in their kind of in their experiences that means that they do that. But I think that for me is the biggest surprise. But I also have to say that I am absolutely delighted to walk into the Woman of the Year Awards and see so many men, because again, like, you know, I've been so supported by men. I mean, when I made the BBC film, the whole of my crew bar one person was male, and they were incredible, you know.
I've say that it can't all be pink and it can't all be blue, because you know, for me it has to be that bruisey purpley colour in the middle, because I think it is about equity, and you know, if you've got too much pink thinking, it doesn't work. If you've got too much blue thinking, so that for me, you know, I've got, you know, my husband, and I couldn't do what I do without him.
No, absolutely.
So, you know, for me, and especially now, because he does come and help at Watty, because I need tall people. So, you know, I've put big banners up and stuff like that. So he wasn't very happy, because he doesn't really like people.
A pair of heels aren't going to cut it.
No. No, too wobbly. But I agree. It needs to be sort of like, you know, and I am really pleased that men do come and see.
It's great,
because they're always blown away by the power that's in that room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the manifestation of it that, you know, that really, I think lights up the room.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think as well, I mean, I did a TED Talk recently, and again, that was incredible, because some of the guys that made that happen were just, you know, so supportive, and kind of, again, I just looked around me, and loads of the guys were just there, and just incredibly supportive, and you know, so it kind of felt as if there was real kind of. Yeah, there was just real support there, and it was great.
I think the TED Talk, actually, if you haven't looked at it, please check it out, because it is amazing. And I have watched it 3 times.
Thank you.
Because I know a couple of my friends have done them, and you have to stay on that red dot. But the message you got over, and how you got it over, and you got your art in, which I thought was great with the
did you see them? There's 7 artworks in
yes. But also the Kasagi
Yeah, kintsugi. Yeah, kintsugi.
Loved it.
Yeah.
But the message at the end when you say, and I think people do get a bit sort of don't know what to say. Don't cross away from us, come towards us. Just amazing.
Yeah,
but that must have been really nerve-wracking.
It was nerve-wracking. There's no auto cue, so you have to. I mean, I spent 2 months like walking my words in. Kind of. I hate the sound of my own voice, but I had to record it on a podcast and listen to it and walk it in the park every day. And there's no auto cue. And the other thing that no one tells you when you're doing a TED Talk or a TEDx, I recorded mine in Manchester in Bridgewater Hall. So you've got a live audience of like 2,500. You've got cameras. No one tells you where the cameras actually are. So because you're looking at you're doing it to the audience. There's no auto cue. And then what nobody tells you is that in front of you on the stage, so the audience just see black boxes, but actually one box has got your slide that's up now, one's got the slide that's coming up, and then in the middle you've just got a huge digital clock, so that literally the minute you step on the red dot, it goes from like 15:00 to 14:59, and that's it, you're in. And you just get one shot. Like you cannot, there was no rehearsal. I'd never stood on that stage before. So you're just on, and then you walk on and you try not to be like kind of overwhelmed by the fact that there's 3 tiers of thousands of people looking at you. So the first thing I did was took my glasses off, so I actually couldn't see past the first like 2 rows. And then what nobody tells you is that as the clock's counting down, as it gets to 2 minutes, it goes like 2 minutes, and then it goes 1:59. Well, when it goes to 1:59, it starts flashing red.
Oh God!
So it's like, oh my God,
really
I've got it. Yeah, and literally, as I said the last words, it literally flipped over, and it was like 0:0:0:0, and yeah, so it's kind of like, so anyone doing a TED Talk, check out the clock.
You were absolutely brilliant, and I'm not just saying it. You were, the messages you got over and how you did it were just phenomenal.
Well, I think as women, we've known what you can fit into 15 minutes for a long time, but it's amazing, just trying to kind of, and TED are really good because they look at what you're doing and they kind of really help you. But one of the main people who helped me was an amazing poet and writer who I'm really close friends with, called Lem Cisse. And Lem actually sat me down on a Saturday morning. We got on a Zoom. I was still in my pajamas, and we literally went through it. And he just was so good at kind of taking the unnecessary words out, but leaving the kind of gold in. And he was just so good. And then he gave me permission to use his quote at the very end of the TED Talk. But he was just so helpful, because you just get into the weeds of it. Anyone who's ever done one will know, but actually he was brilliant at kind of just really helping me to see the kind of golden threads that I kind of wanted to come through it. So yeah, very grateful to him. And also you've just done your masters. Yeah, so I've just level 7 psychotherapist now, which I still can't believe either. Angela, honestly. I know. Well, pack it in. Well, that's it. Let's just cause ourselves loads more stress. Keeps me out of trouble. So this is called the Crispy Ear Podcast, and I can't believe we are nearly at the end of our time, which absolutely drives me mad, because I think we're going to have to start making these at least half an hour longer, doing another hour. Crispy ear. What would you go back and give yourself a younger self a crispy ear about? I think for me there's 2 things. I think that anyone who's lived through the 70s and 80s will know this, but I really wish I kept a diary, because there is so much that happened that I now realise was totally formative, and I didn't even realise it at the time. I really, really wish I kept a diary. But the second thing is that I didn't realise it, but I've always been surrounded by really strong women, and I didn't know it at the time. And I think I would just tell myself to kind of like really look at that, because I think, when I was being told you can't do this, you can't do that, no, you can't go out on a school night, no, you can't, do all of those things that we were doing when we were asking permission to do them. But I think what I didn't realise was that at the time I was absolutely surrounded by the most incredible, strong role models, and I think for me I would really tell my younger self to really drink that in, because I never realised. I kind of, now I can see it, and I can see what my mum did for me. I can see what my sister did. I can see what my friends did and the community around me. But I think that I wish that I'd really realised that at the time, because I think it's only when you, like the Woman of the Year awards, it's only when you're 10 years in that you kind of look back and you realise that actually that's what was happening, you know.
That's amazing. That's real. I don't think anybody's sort of come up with that sort of looking back at the stronger women, because I don't think you really realise that that's part of formative for you. No. You just take it for granted that everybody, you know, has those kinds of role models around them.
Absolutely.
And you are definitely one. Definitely. I mean, I know there's, you know, the Woman of the Year, and as I say, my collective now for all of you is the Woman's is. But I think the Woman of the Year for me, all of you are still out there making a difference to the people that you serve and the people that you help. And that, to me, I have to say, like, it just fills up my love cup. It really does, that you're all out there. Nobody said it's really difficult. I'm not going to do this anymore. No. And I think that to be able to sit and have conversations like this with the most amazing women like you are, that absolutely, it's a privilege and an honour. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, and carry on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're just incredible. I mean, you're a powerhouse. One day we need to swap seats here because, like, you know, I don't know whether anyone's interviewed you yet, but I'd love to interview you, because I think what you've done and the way that you have carried on, and, you know, the awards this year were just absolutely, I mean, it was just an absolute honour to be in that room. I mean, it was just incredible, and I loved it. So...
But again, sort of like, you know, finding young talent and, you know, helping them progress. That's what it's all about, and that's what women should do. Women supporting women, which is just fab. But thank you so much for coming today, Angela. I know you're a really busy woman, and I really, really appreciate your time, and I've loved every moment of it. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching and listening. This has been Ellie Care, Crispy Ear Podcast. I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.